bold. I don't want to call it a prediction, but I just I have ideas sometimes.
Okay.
And I imagine a future. I like to look at everything that's going on, the variables, and then try and think as far ahead as possible. The issue with predicting too far ahead is that the more variables you throw into the mix, the more different, the greater number of futures you can perceive
of course.
But I envision there's a possible future in which Donald Trump wins. There is some semblance of unity among individuals in rejection of this far left insanity.
Sure.
Regular people are scared. They can't speak up their own opinions.
Yep.
That was Cato Institute. Most people do not hold these views. It's somewhere between 8 and 10% according to a lot of these polls, these far progressive views. And people hate cancel culture. So there's a lot of people who are secretly not speaking up. I envision a future where we actually come together, in a sense. Trump wins, shocking the nation. And ultimately we do end up in a war with China, and all of these things that have happened from the riots end up becoming an afterthought. We've got decentralized. We've decentralized our economy. Remote workers working in the mountains off of
But where would the war take place?
That's a good question. Pacific, international, the South China,
like Guam, like we're just fighting on Guam.
Potentially, well, the South China Sea, the atolls. A lot of the conflict would happen there. But I imagine that, depending on who gets dragged into it and to what degree this erupts, first and foremost, I would say this is wild speculation, looking far into the future. But most of the conflict we've seen so far has been in the South China Sea. With China, they've been accused of sinking Vietnamese fishing boats. They've been doing beaching drills.
No, I've not.
So
I'm familiar with this.
So like landing boats on the beach and running in. And a lot of people think it's because they want to invade Taiwan. They want to seize control. And that could be a catalyst for, whatever this Thucydides war would end up becoming between the U.S. But we have all of these inadvertent things that have happened because of the riots and it actually would help us out if we went to war.
Here's, I think, I don't know that I have anything of interest to add to what you're saying. I don't think that's remotely an impossibility. My big question I'm wondering is who is more likely to have the riots end if they win the election? You can easily make the argument why it would be Trump, because now he's in a position to send in the tanks. He's just got the validation. But you could easily see Big Biden, because now you could say we have an adult in the room now.
Well, hold on. Tanks?
Yes, like I'm using that metaphorically, but just basically have law and order and have the National Guard come in.
Did something actually?
No.
Well, no, he's doing something smarter.
Oh, he's being smart now. I'm just saying in terms of November, like there's two scenarios, and I can make the case for either would be the one better to stop the riots from happening.
Trump, the feds have deputized Oregon State Police. Did you hear this?
No, I've not.
Now an arrest from an Oregon State trooper of these rioters goes to the feds, not to the local DA.
Oh, that's so smart.
Exactly. Trump nailed it. Meat hammer.
While keeping his hands clean.
Yep. So a lot of people have been saying Insurrection Act. And I'm like, man, I don't know. They'll use it against him.
Of course. He's Hitler. He's an authoritarian.
But not just that. Could you imagine the troops coming in and then the local government saying, get out.
Yes.
We're being occupied.
Yeah.
So the DHS the feds deputize the Oregon State Police. It's a local affair. But if the state police, when they arrest them, the feds prosecute. The problem was the state police retreated out of Portland because every arrest they made, the DA would be like, you're free to go. Charges dropped. So Trump has figured out a way to deal with the riots. Well, there you go.
What I thought he did brilliantly was when he called out the mayor of Portland and he said, you know what? Call me. We'll solve this so easily and you wouldn't even believe it. Because that tells everyone they're either comfortable with this or unable to stop it.
Right.
And he's like, the offer's on the table. Ball's in your court, Mr. Mayor. I'm respecting your authority. And it's a really the smart... Lori Lightfoot, this genius mayor of Chicago, she said, well, the riots are happening because we don't have gun control. Lady, you haven't had gun control in 2018, 2019, 2017. Now, all of a sudden, it's causing rioting? How is not having gun control causing rioting? It's amazing what straws they'll grasp to try to create some kind of reason for why things are happening, because these things shouldn't be happening.
How do these people keep being elected? Like, why has Chicago been Democrat for, 80 years?
Well, I think there's a lot of dynamics in cities where people just culturally are going to end up voting for the same thing over and over and just expecting it's unconscionable. You're not going to vote for a Republican, and the Republicans aren't going to waste their time because you're still going to have that city council.
This is why I don't vote.
Well, I am going
to be voting in November, though, and the surge of intersectionality has freaked me out to the point where I'm like, I'll be completely honest. Trump trying to withdraw the troops from Afghanistan. I'm like, you know what? I'll take what I can get.
There's two things that are going to fight this cult, which I think are going to be very useful. One is the more radical solution, which I've introduced, which is the kind of thing is like you throw out what the left does very well is they throw out the completely crazy version. They settle for like 3/4, defund the police. It's like, oh my God, it's crazy. Okay, how about you give us A, B, and C? Sure, but just as long as we don't have to defund the police. I think we should nationalize all university endowments, which are the crystallization of privilege. There's nothing more privileged than having a fancy Ivy League degree, and use that money for reparations.
Have you been following a Will Chamberlain on Twitter?
Will Chamberlain got that idea from me.
Oh, did he? He stole your idea.
He didn't steal it. He credits me.
Okay.
So Will Chamberlain's my buddy, head of human events. That's my idea.
That's so great.
Seize the endowments.
Yes, seize the endowments. The other thing that can happen in the short term, especially with startups, is when you see someone coming from an Ivy League, you should look at that person with the same stigma as someone who was gay in the 1950s. This person is security risk. You're inviting something in your company that you might not want.
But that was wrong.
Sure, but now it's right.
Well, the SJW stuff.
But now it's right to be discriminatory. Be like, odds are this person has been trained to be a member of the social justice warrior militia. Look what happened to Papa John's. Papa John's was quoting someone and
disparaging them.
Yes, he's saying, don't talk like this person who said this. That's terrible. You're fired.
He said, can you believe that this guy said
KFC was Colonel Sanders
and got away with it? Yes. The press didn't come after him. This is ridiculous.
And he got fired from his own company.
You hear about the Netflix guy?
No, what happened?
He was giving a seminar on words that were offensive that shouldn't be on Netflix.
Yes.
And so this is hilarious. This story is so amazing. He says a bunch of words. Someone in the meeting complained to HR. They brought him in and said, what happened? And he explained, I was giving a meeting explaining these are the words we don't allow on Netflix. And then they were like, what were the words? He said them. And then the HR people complained. He said the word in front of us. He was telling you not to say it.
But you're ascribing rationality to fundamentalist faith. So this is what, when you're exactly. starting up a company and you're looking at these resumes, you need to start looking at these as examples of something to fear and stigma, and the price, the value that they might add from coming to elite college, it's going to be decreasing as opposed to cost.
You know what, man? I remember when I was a lot younger, and when I was like a teenager, I was Catholic for a little bit. Just because I was a little kid, you lost your helicopter hat.
Yeah.
So I went to Catholic school up until 5th grade.
Time for the helicopters.
And then when I was a teenager, I became very, I don't necessarily want to say atheist.
Okay.
Kind of agnostic, but very arrogant.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. Like the people on Reddit.
Totally.
Yeah.
But you were Fedora. So dumb. You believe in God?
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
and right, but I was, so morally superior to people. But there was like a concern about this moral authoritarianism coming from the right, which is now predominantly on the left, and it's the exact same thing. That's why I think it's funny you said ascribing reason to a fundamentalist faith, but these people are taking over to a degree where, I remember hearing stories about like, what do I do when my family is ultra religious and they won't listen to what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I have the same problem now in the other direction. Like I have. It's really interesting because. The part of my family that isn't white, they love Trump. Okay. Not all of them, of course, but there's a lot of they're all like, yeah, Trump's great. And the white people in my family, my extended family, by the way, are SJWs.
Oh gosh, did they hate you?
It's the weird. I doubt it. Okay. I don't think they hate me, but they won't engage. So I've tried like commenting like, hey, here's why I disagree with this weird stuff you're saying. I didn't call them weird, but
it's also your out group. It's also psychological because you're from the other side, and it's like it's not
even like look, I'm talking about like family members that I would go to Christmas with, and all of a sudden they're posting nightmarish white collectivist ideology.
Right, but do you see? I don't think you're understanding their perspective, and I think imagine if like one of your cousins came and started talking about BDSM. And it's like, I get that that's what you're into. Maybe it's a shrug for you. But I'm saying for some people, it'd be like, why are you talking about this? This is at the very least creepy and weird, and I don't want to hear it. Normal, air quotes, people don't think in these terms.
Right.
So that is what it's like for them, for their faith, when you're talking about nuance regarding Trump. It's like, this is gross and not part of what I believe.
It's not even that. It's like, so I used to work in nonprofit fundraising.
Okay.
So I was very good working for some of these big companies at communicating and like sort of opening the doors into people like in the sense of we could have a conversation before they recoil in horror.
Sure.
So I actually did a lot of trainings to teach people how do you communicate with someone who's not ideologically aligned with you. You need to build rapport with them before anything. So before you go up to them and say, you're crazy and wrong for believing this stuff, you say something that's more rapport building. Simply,
you have to play on their turf, not yours.
Right. You say, so a common technique is, where are you from? Where are you from?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn for 5 years, dude. Man, they got the best Indian food in Bed-Stuy, and it was this little hole-in-the-wall place. I used to live in like Myrtle and Nostrand. You know Myrtle and Nostrand?
This is people who don't live in Brooklyn. That's how they talk. I would be running away immediately. Sure. But I got you. You're exactly right, because then it's like it's us versus them.
Right. So you create a rapport.
Yeah.
I try saying things like, on their terms, racism is bad. I'm so glad you're opposed to racism. Don't you think it's an issue that white people are forming collective groups?
Yeah.
And they immediately there's no logic, there's no reason, and there's agree with me or get the F off my page.
Yes. Yeah.
And
they've been trained to act this way.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.